Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast presented by Saint Church. My name's Caleb, and our hope is to help you study the Word of God every single day. Every day, we're taking time to upload episodes onto Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, where we are reading a chapter of the Bible, looking at the context it was written in, and we're seeing what it has to say for us today. Today, we're going to be doing just that by continuing on in our study through the book of Leviticus by reading Leviticus Chapter 11. Now, if you're checking this out over on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and you end up enjoying it, take a moment to follow, subscribe, leave a like, consider leaving a rating or review, all of those things. Make sure that you don't miss out on upcoming episodes and other people know it's worthwhile checking out. But with that being said, let's just dive right on in to Leviticus chapter 11 and let's see what the Word of God has to say today. It says this: The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Say to the Israelites, of all the animals that live on land, these are the ones you may eat. You may eat any animal that has a divided hoof and that chews the cud. There are some that only chew the cud or only have a divided hoof, but you must not eat them. The camel, though it chews the cud, does not have a divided hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. The hyrax, though it chews the cud, does not have a divided hoof. It is unclean for you. The rabbit, though it chews the cud, does not have a divided hoof. It is unclean for you. And the pig, though it has a divided hoof, does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. You must not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. They are unclean for you. Of all the creatures living in the water of the seas and the streams, you may eat any that have fins and scales. But all creatures in the seas or streams that do not have fins and scales, whether among all the swarming things or among all the other living creatures in the water, you are to regard as unclean. And since you are to regard them as unclean, you must not eat their meat. You must regard their carcasses as unclean. Anything living in the water that does not have fins and scales is to be regarded as unclean by you. These are the birds you are to regard as unclean and not eat because they are unclean: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, any kind of black kite, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be regarded as unclean by you. There are, however, some flying insects that walk on all fours that you may eat. Those that have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of these you may eat any kind of locust, katydid, cricket, or grasshopper. But all other flying insects that have 4 legs you are to regard as unclean. You will make yourselves unclean by these. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Whoever picks up one of their carcasses must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. Every animal that does not have a divided hoof or that does not chew the cud is unclean for you. Whoever touches the carcass of any of them will be unclean. Of all the animals that walk on all fours, those that walk on their paws are unclean for you. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Anyone who picks up their carcasses must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. These animals are unclean for you. Of the animals that move along the ground, these are unclean for you: the weasel, the rat, any kind of great lizard, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the wall lizard, the skink, and the chameleon. Of all those that move along the ground, these are unclean for you. Whoever touches them when they are dead will be unclean till evening. When one of them dies and falls on something, the article, whatever its use, will be unclean, whether it is made of wood, cloth, hide, or sackcloth. Put it in water. It will be unclean till evening, and then it will be clean. If one of them falls into a clay pot, everything in it will be unclean, and you must break the pot. Any food you are allowed to eat that has come into contact with water from any such pot is unclean, and any liquid that is drunk from such a pot is unclean. Anything that one of their carcasses falls on becomes unclean. An oven or cooking pot must be broken up. They are unclean, and you are to regard them as unclean. A spring, however, or a cistern for collecting water remains clean, but anyone who touches one of these carcasses is unclean. If a carcass falls on any seeds that are to be planted, they remain clean. But if water has been put on the seed and a carcass falls on it, it is unclean for you. If an animal that you are allowed to eat dies, anyone who touches its carcass will be unclean till evening. Anyone who eats some of its carcass must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean until evening. Anyone who picks up the carcass must wash their clothes, and they will be unclean till evening. Every creature that moves along the ground is to be regarded as unclean. It is not to be eaten. You are not to eat any creature that moves along the ground, whether it moves on its belly or walks on all fours or on many feet. It is unclean. Do not defile yourselves by any of these creatures. Do not make yourselves unclean by means of them, or be made unclean by them. I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am holy. Do not make yourselves unclean by any creatures that move along the ground. I am the Lord who brought you up out of Egypt to be your God. Therefore be holy, because I am holy. These are the regulations concerning animals, birds, every living thing that moves about in the water, and every creature that moves along the ground. You must distinguish between the unclean and the clean, between living creatures that may be eaten and those that may not be eaten. And that is the close of Leviticus chapter 11. Now, really quick, for us today, for Christians that are listening to this and looking to study, it's important for us to note right off the bat that this type of a law, this clean and unclean animals, these were laws and regulations being given to the Israelites at this time to signify holiness and being set apart for the Lord. What we end up seeing in the book of Acts very, very explicitly is that it outlines all of these things being made clean, being made available. Yet at this time, the Lord said, there is something that distinguishes the people of Israel between those around them, and a part of that is the animals that they would eat and interact with. And so today, as we look at this, we do see it as something that was setting them apart. Now, we could go into some of the different things when it comes to cleanliness of these animals, the disease that it would have been helping them to not come into contact with, the way in which this would have allowed them to circumvent some of the common issues of the day, and all of those things, because there was some practicality to this, that they looked and they said, oh man, yeah, let's not engage with some of these things because it's going to help us to stay healthy, to stay well, to look different from the surrounding peoples. Yet ultimately what we see here is that the Lord is looking and saying there is a particular way in which you will live, that from the way you live and the way you interact even with these animals, it will demonstrate to the surrounding people that you are following me, that you are worshiping me, that you are serving me. And so there is a twofold nature to this, that there was a practicality to it, that you know what, at this time for them to be eating things like pigs and other animals of that nature, guess what? It probably would not have been the most safe and sanitary thing. Yet at the same time, it was a way that they could demonstrate they were living for the Lord. And so today, really, all I want us to be able to point at and see here is that for a time, there was a way in which the people were asked to distinguish who they were and how they were following after the Lord. For us today, there are different ways that we do that. We see that God in the book of Acts and different things like that has explicitly stated that this has changed. Yet it is important to look and see, man, God, you gave them some things to do. What have you called us to do? Not by the way that we live and interact with our food and animals and that sort of a thing, but the way that we serve and love those around us. How do we still get to represent Christ, demonstrate that we are living different, that we are living holy and set apart, not based upon, again, our food, but based upon our way of living. And so, friends, today, with that being said, that's all I got for you. So I hope this encourages you. I hope this helps you to have a perspective that does not just throw aside this chapter, but see how our new context might call us to things that would let us be holy and set apart for the Lord. And so with that being said, thanks for being here today. If you got any questions, comment them down below. Make sure if you enjoyed it to subscribe, leave a like, follow the podcast, leave a rating, or share with a friend. But with that being said, thanks for being here today. I can't wait to see you tomorrow because we're taking time to study the Word of God every single day.